Hello and welcome. In this session, we are going to learn about a Postgre tool which is called as PG Backrest. So this is an open source tool which is used for backup and restoration for PostgreSQL database. So we are going to start about the topic which is called as Backrest, and we'll see the step-by-step demo. So here is everything like usual. I put it everything in the notepad, and we will start with what is PG backrest, what are the different terminologies that are used in backups. Then we will launch an EC2 instance, and then we will go from there. So what is PG Backrest? So PG Backrest is an open source backup tool for PostgreSQL that can do the physical backups, which is an enhancement of the PG base backup tool. So it can be used for the full backup, it can be used for the incremental backup, or it can be used for the differential backup. And the same backup can be used for the restoration purpose. Apart from that, it can be an initial copy can be used for a streaming replication for an existing backup, or there is a delta option also available which can be used to rebuild the standby server. So we are going to do this demo entirely on EC2 instance. So before we start further from here, let's start an EC2 instance. We are going to launch an EC2 instance, and we are going to use RHEL 8. Everything is going to be basic only. At we are saying it RHEL EC2 September 21. Okay. So while this is being initiated in the background, what we are going to do is this is getting initiated. We'll start with the terminologies. So we'll resume what is PG Backrest. PG Backrest is an open source backup and restoration tool for Postgre, and this is what we say, if you know about PG base backup, which is a physical backup which used to do the backup of entire stuff in your data directory, then it is an enhancement of that. So we'll use some of the backup terminology. One is the full backup. So full backup is backrest. This is going to copy the entire content of your database cluster. So we are not going to say database. We are going to use the term database cluster. And whenever we take the first backup of the database cluster, it is always a full backup. And we can use the PG backrest to restore the entire full backup. And then we have something called as differential backup. What is differential backup? So if you use PG backrest for the backup purpose, so PG backrest copies only those database that have changed since the last full backup. So differential backup is what you have taken a full backup yesterday, and if you start a differential backup today, then whatever has changed since the last backup, it is known as the differential backup. If you take backup tomorrow and you did a full backup yesterday, then the differential backup is going to count from the full backup. So whenever a full backup has happened, the differential backup take it as a counter, and then it backs up your database. The next one in this terminology is incremental backup. So whatever last backup you had and anything which has changed after that, it is called as the incremental backup. So full backup, it is going to take the full backup, the entire cluster. Differential backup, whenever your last full backup has happened, it is backing up from there. Incremental backup, whenever your last full or incremental back or differential backup has happened, it is taken up from there. So generally the incremental backup is smaller than your full or differential backup because it starts backing up since the last backup, whether it is your full backup or differential backup or incremental backup. Now we are going to do the entire setup on RHEL EC2 instance, which we are going to launch on EC2. We have already initiated, so you can see it. Okay, this is going to come up, and let me. Okay, so this is available, so let me quickly connect to it. It's always easy to launch and work on the EC2 instances, which are very fast to spin up and then work. So I'm on RHEL8, so EC2-user. Okay, I'm connected. Now what we are going to do is we are going to install launch Postgre 13 on this. So I'm just going to copy. I'm not going to discuss about all these commands because we have done it several times. So let me copy and paste everything. And once the instance is started up, you know, when you install the Postgre using this yum, or what happens, it is creating a service account called as Postgre as well. And in our demo we are going to enable uh, the the sudo access, so that it is easier for us to do some of the commands which can be executed with the sudo privilege. So that is an extra step which we are going to add in this particular session. We don't need to do this again and again because I do everything right from the beginning. So that's why I'm installing Postgre 13 again. And then we are going to enable the sudo access. This is still working. And once this step is done, we will be good to work with the configuration of PG Backrest. It's very easy to learn, very powerful tool, and quite famous because of its features. Now let's enable the Survers for Postgre OS user. So what you have to search is you have to search for no password, and in the sudo file you can search for this. What we need to do is we need to add an entry for Postgre, so that every time you perform any activity which is with the sudo access, it will do that. So we have made the changes. Now one of the things which we should do is we should check the SE Linux, because this is going to create a problem for us. By default this will be enabled, and what we are going to do is we are going to disable it so that it doesn't create problem for us. cd SE sudo vi config, and then we have to replace this. You can skip the initial few minutes if you already know what is this all about. We are just going to disable it. That's done. And now let's reboot. It's not going to take let's say more than 30 seconds. And once it is done, we will have everything up and ready. We will start the PostgreSQL. So in this particular setup, our PG Backrest and Postgre server both are on same instance. So we are going to start from here. I think, okay, let me recycle this. Okay, I think this is running. Okay, it should be up and running. Let me restart the session. This is showing running. Let me check if I have made some changes with the inbound rule. Added inbound rule. This is PostgreSQL, and let's go back to EC2 dashboard, identify our instance, and then we will start. This is the instance which we created. This is the host name, and this should work now. EC2-user. Okay, we are logged in. Now what we are going to do is we have to ensure that we install backrest, PG backrest. So we are going to use the sudo yum install pg backrest. So this is going to install the pg backrest for us on our EC2 instance. Okay, let me switch to sudo su space minus postgre. Now we are saying sudo yum install pg backrest. So this is going to install pg backrest on our Linux RHEL8, which is running on EC2 instance. So this is done. This is very, very easy. And if you simply say file, this you should be able to see that the executable is available. File usr bin pg backrest. So you can see the details. It is an executable which is available, and the details are mentioned over here. This is just a cross verification. Now what we are going to do is, next step is creation of the log and the repository directory for pg backrest. So we have to create few directories wherein our log files and the repository will be available. So I'm going to create this sudo mkdir var lev pg backrest. This already exists, that is fine. The owner has to be Postgre according to our requirement. This is done. Then we have to create a directory under var log pg backrest. This is created, and then we are going to change the ownership. This is done. So we created just two directory. One is for varlib pg backrest, another is varlog pg backrest. So one is for repository and another is for log. Now we are going to start the configuration file creation for pg backrest. So therein you will see a word which is called as stanza. Stanza doesn't stand, it is just a few lines that you have to add in your pg backrest configuration file, which makes your pg backrest work in a way that it performs the task for which it is supposed to be. So we are saying what is a stanza in Postgre. So stanza defines the backup configuration for a specific PostgreSQL database cluster. So any global configurations section can be overridden to define stanza specific settings. So we are already logged in as Postgre, who is the owner of this, and then we are going to create a location in etc. We are going to put our file over there, which is the configuration file. And in that configuration file, whose name is etc pg backrest, which we already created as Postgre. So Postgre is going to be the owner, and the name of the configuration file is pgbackrest.conf, and these are the entries which will be available. So a repository path is var_lib pg backrest, which we created earlier. Then we have repository retention, so full that equal to 2. That means you can keep 2 full backup over here in this repository, and we have given the name of this stranger as pgems, and the path from where it is going to pick the data is here, and it is listening on the port 5432, and that's it. So let's execute this. So we are going to execute this. So once you execute, you will be able to see something like this. And just to cross verify what all is there, you just have to execute, just view the content etc pg backrest pgbackrest.conf. So you will be able to see the details over here. In the global parameter, you have the repository path, you have the repository retention, then you have the name of the stranger, then the path, and then the port. Now, and what is the backup repository location? This is going to be important. You have to plan your storage according to your requirement, and the location is var_lib pg backrest. So ensure that this is according to your requirement, and once you do your backup for a few times, then you will be able to understand if the 2 backups you will be able to store it over here or not. So proportionally, you should minimum keep 20 to 30% extra than your backup size, because you have to take the incremental backup according to the policy. Now we are going to create the Stanja. We are going to log in as Postgre, which I'm already logged in. Then you have to say pg backrest Stanja create Stanja. We have given the Stanja name pgems log level console info. So this is, we are going to create the Stanja using this line. So when you execute this, it will appear something like this. Stanja create command and completed successfully. You should be able to see this. That means everything is working fine. So you have created a configuration file, you have created the Stanja. Now you have to ensure your database meets the requirements so that its backup can be done. So there are few requirements for your database. So what are those requirements? You have to check what is your wall level, archive mode, archive command, max wall senders, and hot standby configuration. So let's log into uh, command prompt, and I'm going to execute all of this at once. If you execute all of this at once, show all level, it is going to show it is replica. If you see archive mode, it is off. If you see archive command, this is disabled. If you see wall senders, this is 10, and then hot standby. What you have to do is you have to change your wall level to replica. You have to set the archive mode on. Then you have to set the archive command so that it will be handled by pg backrest, and there is a Stanja which we have created whose name is pgems, and then we will say archive push. So we are going to execute all this command in one shot because we know what we are doing, and then we will cross verify it. So what we are doing is we are making sure that our Postgre suffice the minimum requirement so that PG backrest can be executed on our system. So wall level is replica, archive mode is, it should be on, and we are going to reboot it because these are the parameters which requires the reboot of your PostgreSQL. And then what we are going to do is we are going to check if everything is working fine or not. So we'll say pg backrest check stanza name which we have created and log level console info. This is going to check whether your Postgre, which is going to be backed up, is everything is fine or not. So this actually should show us there is an issue with the configuration, and this should result in some message, something like that. Archive mode must be enabled. We already enabled it, but it requires a recycle of the service because we used alter system set, and those are static parameters. So we are going to recycle our PostgreSQL. This is done. And if we cross check the archive mode now, if you say show archive mode, it should show us the actual value. Now it is on. And now we are going to execute this command, which is pg backrest check stanza and the stanza name, then log level. We are saying just tell us the information whether everything is fine or not. So it is saying info check command and successfully completed. That means everything is fine with this configuration. We can go ahead, initiate our backup, verify it, and then we can restore it as well. So then next step which we are going to do is we are going to start a full backup. So if we say pg backrest backup stanza, name of the stanza, log file level, if you simply say just check the information. And when we are executing it, just see the details. Backup start. So you can see a lot of information over here. So I'll show you what all is there. So we have started our command here. pg backrest backup stanza gems, pg ems, and then log level, this one. So what it is saying, incremental backup has been changed to full because there is no backup previous to this, and then it is going to execute pg start backup. So it is going to freeze the data files, and it is saying your pg start backup has initiated, and backup begins after the next regular checkpoint complete. So backup start archive, execute non-exclusive pg stop backup, then backup stop archive, and then it is going, the total size of the backup is 23.5 MB. We have not given any kind of expiration, otherwise there are a lot of controls which you can put over here. The only thing is you can retain just 2 full backups. Now what we can do is we can check the backup related information. So if you simply say pg backrest info, this is going to show you the name of the stanza is gems, pg ems, sorry, and status is okay. There is no encryption we have enabled. The database is current. Wall archive minimum maximum. This is 1 to 3, and then full backup it has taken at this particular timestamp. The start and stop, this is the start time of the backup, this is end time of the backup. There's wall, those are the transaction log, start time, end time. Database size is 23.5, database backup size is 23.3, and a repository location where it has put the backup, there the size is just 2.8 MB. What we are going to do is we are going to fire another full backup, and then we will see how it is going to do the next backup, because when we fired first one, it has seen that there is no full backup, so it has done the first backup it has done is full backup. Now we are going to execute the same command again. The only difference which is going to over here is backup command completed within this, and you can see the last backup level is, it is going to read the last backup level, and it has taken an incremental backup. Info backup command begins over here, You can see the details. Stanza is this. Last backup level, execute non-exclusive PG start backup, backup start archive. So it has given you all the information. Now, if you check the status of the backup, how we can do is like how many backups we have on the disk. We will simply let me clear the screen and then we will say PG backrest info. If you do that, you will be able to see there is one full backup and there is another incremental backup. So the full backup, the detail is here, and the incremental backup detail is here. So whatever backups you are going to take, it is going to put it over here. The next thing is when you have the good backup, can we take a can we restore it? So how to restore backup using PG backrest? So PG backrest will check whether you have a successful full backup, you have a differential backup, you have an incremental backup, and it will do the restoration. Let's say if I wanted to do a restoration of the backup which we have done. So ideally, when the only difference will be, we will say PG backrest restore. Then we give the stanza name and then the log content log level console equal to info. And if you execute this, you will be able to see that unable to restore because PostgreSQL is running. So what you need to do is you need to stop the PostgreSQL 13. We are going to stop it. Sudo systemctl stop PostgreSQL 13. This is going to stop it. If you check the status, this should not be running. So this is not running. This is down. Now we restore it. If you restore it, just say pg backrest info because you need to ensure that the backups exist. So you see there is a full backup, there is an incremental backup, and if you say pg backrest restore and the information related to the stanza, and then you say the delta, restore command and completed successfully. So it has restored. The restored size is 23.3 MB. That was the size of the backup. And if you simply restart your PostgreSQL, since it is a valid restore, that should come up. Just say status. Your Since we do not have any backup which we have restored over here from so this is just a template which is created, right? So that's why we do not see any user created database. So just a recap of what we have done. PG Backrest is an open source tool which is used for backup and restoration purpose. It can do full backup, differential backup, incremental backup. And we have done the installation and EC2 instance. These are the details available over here. We have enabled the sudo access for the Postgre to perform the basic operations. Then we installed the pg backrest executable using the yum, and then we checked whether this pg backrest is available or not. Then we created a file for the log and then the repository where your backup is going to reside. Then we talked about the configuration file for backrest. There is something called as a stanza, which is just the few lines that you have to put it in your pgbackrest.conf. You created that configuration file. You entered the details of repository path and the repository retention, that is 2 days. And then you have given from where it is going to pick up the information. And then finally, you have created an stanza. So first is the creation of the stanza. Then you have to enable the 5 mandatory settings on your Postgre so that when you take the backup, the full incremental or differential backup should happen because it mostly depends upon your wall settings. Then finally we create when initiated a backup, since there was no backup, so full backup was initiated. And then you using pg backrest info, you can check what is the backup detail, and finally we were able to see something like this. We created two backups. So first one, there was no backup, so it has taken full backup. Then it has taken an incremental backup. Then we did the restoration using the restore command, and we mentioned the stranger name, and then we shut down the instance and restored it. It is very, very simple, straightforward. Maybe in another session we will see some more details about this, which is kind of Bible for the Postgre PG Backrest. This is very, very famous, easy to use. So let's do further from here. I hope this is going to help.